I'm going to go through with you exactly what you'll be doing on your test. You're going to be doing your calculations for mean, median, mode, and standard deviation in Google. Now, since the data gets messed up, when you do anything else to it, you're just going to need to do your calculations and then write your answers on your test for mean, median, mode, and standard deviation. So what I will do is I will go ahead and put the data in there for you, but what you're going to have to remember is that when you do something else, it's going to change that calculation. So make sure that you write your answer down as you go. So I'm going to do, this is the first problem on the test, and so what you'll do is you'll go over here and or this is the first problem on the test review, and you'll have different sets of data for each thing that I ask you to do. So this one has them all listed together, so I'm asking you to do mean, and remember you type average. You go over and you highlight it. So you'll highlight it, you'll hit enter, and then you'll take your test and you'll go over and you'll write the answer on the blank for mean. So you would write 18 for that one. So then we'll do median, and I'll hit equals median, and I'll go over, I'll hit enter, and you'll write 20 for median if that was the question, okay? Now, every time I do something new, like when I go over here now and I put this data in order to find the median, what's going to happen is it changes the other data that I have. So you have to really be careful. See, I had other data in here and it messed everything up. So this is what I'm saying to you, is that once you do some math for something, write the answer down, because I am going to ask you to see different charts and things like that, but I'll ask you to move it to another sheet, and I'm going to go through that with you on this video. So let me just do a new one here so that our data won't be messed up. And I'm going to put the data that we had. So you already have, you already have your answers for mean and median for this problem. Okay, so now we're going to go through the process of finding mode. And remember, for mode, we put it in order. We look at it and we see the one that occurs most often. And in this case, 20 would be my answer for mode. So let's say they all occurred one time. You'd say there's no mode. If 20 occurred 3 times and 23 occurred 3 times, you would say the answer is 20 and 23. So it's the one that occurs most often, and there can be more than one. Median, remember, Google will do it for you. So now, if I do anything else on here, so like if I decide that I want to do standard deviation, remember you start typing standard deviation, you highlight, you hit enter, and it gives it to you. But whenever you do something else later, if you do another calculation later, or you put more data in, so like if I put more data in, and I go and I want to put it in order or something like that, it can actually mess up the other data that's in there. See how it did? It put this in a different order. So you want to make sure that you're writing your answers down as you go when you're doing these calculations, because it's going to mess your other data up in there. So I'm not going to need to see this part. I just need to see your answers, and you're using this as a tool, okay? So now, like I said, you'll have other data in there. So you will have, this is for number 3 then on there, and you will have the data already written in there, and I'm going to pause it while I put the data in there. Okay, so I've put the data in now for number 3 on your test review, and it asks you to do a scatter plot. So what you're going to do is you're going to go over here and you're going to highlight your data, and you're going to hit insert chart, and you're going to find the scatter plot. So I'm checking to see if you remember how to do this. And what I'm looking for on this is that you can get the equation. So you're going to go over here and you're going to do advanced edit, and you're going to slide down. Remember, this is all the way towards the bottom, and you say, yes, I want a trend line. You want a linear one. That's how your test is going to be. And you want an equation. And so on your test, I ask you to write the equation. I also ask you to upload your scatter plot. So you're going to move it to its own sheet so that you can now go here and say download as a PDF, and you're going to export it, and you're going to save it. So we're going to save it here. And right here it is in my downloads button. I'm going to go in and I'm going to rename it. So I'm going to save it on my desktop now. And I'm going to save it as Reagan Scatterplot. Because I'm going to ask you to submit your Scatterplot in Moodle. So that's one of the things I am going to ask you to submit. Okay, so that takes care of that. That's what we're looking for there. So now we go on to number 4 on the test review. And I'm going back to my page of my data. Now remember that you've got all this data here, but you're not using the data anymore. You're only using these sheets and charts that we're doing to be able to submit in Moodle. You're just using this for your work. So I don't need to see this kind of stuff. So we can go in if you want to, and we can delete all the stuff that's there so that we don't get confused. But remember that I will already have data typed in there for you, but you can delete the stuff that you've already used if you want to. So I'm going to pause it so that I can type this data in there for you too. Okay, so I have your data in there, and remember, in order to do a histogram, you have to do a frequency table, and this one asks you to do a frequency table first on your test review. So it says to start the first class with 8, and it says to do class with the 5. So if we do 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we're doing 12 here. That's the beginning and the ending, and then 13. And let's see, let's go ahead and put our numbers in order so we know where to stop. So let's say data, sort. Okay, so the last number is a 37, so we know we have to at least go up as high as 37. So let's see how it messes up your data if you do anything new on there. So we're going to do 8, and 5 is 13, and 5 is 18, and 5 is 23, and 5 is 28. 5 is 33 and 38, and that gives us our classes. So the ending of each one, and if the last one is 38, this one stops at 37. So this goes to 12, and this goes to 17, and this goes to 22, and this one goes to 27. And this one goes to 32, and this one goes to 37. So we don't need this one. Okay, so remember that when we want to do a frequency table, what we do is we hit equals frequency, and we go over and we tell it, well, I want this data for the first part of it. So we got to make sure that, let's just highlight all that. And then we do a comma, and we do the ending data, and we hit enter, and it does a count for us. So that's the frequency table. And you know, if you were doing this, you might want to make it pretty. So let's see, we would do from, to, and then the frequency. And we could, if we wanted to, we could highlight it, and we could do a border. So we could do a border if we wanted to. And then if we hit Control C, or if we go under Edit and say Copy, we can then open up a document, and we can select Edit and say Paste. Or in this case, on my computer, it wants me to do Control V to put it in there. And then if I want a PDF, I can say File, Download as PDF, and I can put it on my desktop and give it a name. So if I wanted to see that, that's what you would do. I don't ask you to do a frequency table on your test. You just need a frequency table in order to do your histogram. You need to have your counts there. So we're going to go through and we're going to hit Insert Chart. And we're going to pick histogram. And we're going to tell it to Insert. And we're going to hit Advanced Edit. And we're going to tell it that we want a bucket size of 5, because that's our class width, remember? And it's doing that, only this one's starting with 5 instead of 8, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine for your histogram. And then you would hit Update. And then in order to get it as a PDF, you would put it on its new sheet. And we would go up here and say File, Download as PDF, export it.
Sure, do you want to call me back when you're in front of a...
And on mine it says Open With. And I can do it that way, and I can come up here and say Save. And put it on my desktop so that I will be able to find it later. And I'm going to ask you to name it as your name and probably histogram so that it will be there. But I will give you specific instructions on what you need to do for that. So I've asked you on your test review to do a histogram. I've asked you to do a frequency table in your test review. I've also asked you to do a normal distribution. And I'm going to pause it while I pull up the sheet for you for that. So in class we talked about this, and we had the mean here in the middle. So on your test review, it says that it's normally distributed with a mean of 48. So we put the mean in the middle. And it says a standard deviation of 5. So we add 5. That's 1 standard deviation. Add another 5. That's 2 standard deviations. Subtract 5. And subtract 5 again, and that's 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations, 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations. And if you'll remember, you had some percentages that you were doing, and on each side of the mean, so here's the mean, each side of the mean all the way on each side is 50% on each side. So if I said something like, what's the percentage of, let's see what this problem says, the time that it takes to go in over 48 minutes? Well, more than 48 is this way. If this is the mean, everything to the right is 50% and everything to the left is 50%. Anything between 48 and 53, remember, we've got this 34% here on each side. Remember, we drew this in class. And then, because 34 and 34 was 68, it told us that. And then this next one said this whole thing was 95%. So if we take 95% minus the 68 that we already have there, and then divide it by 2, these are the calculations that we did in class, and I went ahead and gave it to you in your sheet so that you didn't have to worry about it. And we did the 95 minus the 68 that we already had, which was 27. So these two here add up to 27, but since we have 2 of them, we have 13.5 in each of them. You're going to want to have that little chart with you. And then we had this next part, this next standard deviation. If we had anything in that standard deviation, it would be that next little piece there, which was 3 standard deviations. So you're going to want that chart with you. The question on your test review says, what percentage of time will it take her less than 53 minutes? Well, here's 53 minutes. It's 1 standard deviation over here to the right of 48. Less than 53 is all these numbers this way. So if everything to the left of 48 is 50%, and this little bitty piece right here is on the other side of 53, so everything in this little spot here between 48 and 53 is 34. So this makes 84%. That would be less than 53. So you have to add those percentages up and make sure that you're looking at the correct number. So on every one of these, what you're going to do is you're going to draw your curve. You're going to label the mean, whatever they give you for the mean. We used mu for that. And then you're going to count off 1 standard deviation on each side, 2 standard deviations on each side, and then take your drawing that I gave you in class and get the percentages from your drawing that you have there. Each one of these little pieces has a percentage in it that I've given you in class. It's on your video that I gave you for normal distribution, and we talked about it in class, so you're going to need that for this final. And I think, let's see, I believe that covers everything that's on your review for the lab portion. So what you're going to do for your test for this one is you will simply just put your answer on your test there. So make sure that you're checking these, that you're making sure that you can do them, and if you have any questions, see me. So good luck.